Claudio Ranieri was sacked in the middle of their Champions League tie against Sevilla, effectively, after the first leg.
Yeah.
It seems like, I understand if you're the owners that you want to guarantee that you're going to stay up, and even that isn't guaranteed, but it seems like a strange time to do it.
Well, I'm not so sure about that, Ger. I mean, they got a reasonable result the other night, better than most people expected. But I thought they played very, very poorly, Ger. I mean, it wouldn't give you hope to say, well, they've turned the corner on that particular result. I thought they were very, very lucky to get away with the score that it was. But no, I think they would have made their mind up actually before the match. Ger. I don't think it would have been just on that particular game.
Yeah.
Unless they got a dramatic win. But, if I was watching it as an owner and saying, well, look, I need a good display and a good result tonight, I'd say the result is good, but the performance was poor.
For 70-odd minutes, it really did look like it could be 3 or 4. Again, could have got out of reach from them. So
yeah.
And there's reports in the Telegraph today that the owners had met some of the senior players in advance of that game, and that's never a good sign.
No. I think once the owners are talking to the players, the manager's finished, Chair. Because if the owners had real confidence in the manager, they would say, go away, I don't want to hear anything about the manager.
Yeah.
But the fact that they hear the players or whoever is responsible, and that happens, then the manager is usually a dead duck anyway.
Is this really Claudio Ranieri's level? That last year was the 1 year of absolute magic in his career, but that, when he got the job, he was made favourite for the sack pre-season.
Yeah, I tipped him for the sack, yeah. I never thought Ranieri was a good manager. But I think what happens in football happens in life generally, I suppose. A manager goes into a position and he's absolutely right for the situation. And I think that happened last year with Ranieri. I think Pearson did a terrific job between Christmas and the end of the season. A good spirit, a good go. They finished the season very, very well, Ger, as you will remember.
Yeah.
They looked odds-on for relegation at Christmas. They had a great run. I think they finished about halfway up the table. There was a great spirit about them. And Ranieri took over that particular situation, which was healthy. Now, I always thought Ranieri, when he went into a club and other clubs, he never did much management, really. He was very affable and very, very good. And I think that's exactly what Leicester needed in that situation, that they had a good spirit, a good group of lads, the good players, and I think where he was wise, Ger, is that he didn't try to change it. He didn't try to impose himself on what was there, and I think that was very, very clever. And I think obviously they had a great run, and he did a great job to win the Premiership. There's no doubt about that. But I think this season, with changes in the club, like Kante left, and players like that, Kante were very, very good. Now I think you had to manage, and I think this is where they fell down. But there are other circumstances as well. The players, when you get a good dressing room, Ger, it's very, very fragile. Small things can change it. And you had players getting new contracts, maybe players saying, well, he got more credit than I did, he's got a bigger contract than I have.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know what was going on. And then, you must say, Ger, the players that he brought in, or I assume he brought them in, didn't do anything for him.
Yeah.
Mendy, Ndidi, the players that he spent a fair bit of money, not a great deal of money, but they weren't good enough, Ger.
Yeah, he claims he had full responsibility, final say in all those, so it's not like there's somebody else.
No. So it was a different kettle of fish. See, the thing is with football, Ger, to be honest now, and I don't mean to sound cruel because I think he's a very decent man, he's an affable man, but in the situation, I would have sacked him.
Would you have sacked him before the Seville game, though?
Probably.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? That's the only,
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything, Jerry. It's an extra match, and the timing was bad. And I don't mean to sound cruel to the man, because he seems a very affable man. But you see, I think the sentiment is there. Great sentiment and great sympathy towards him for what he did last year. But football is a cruel game, Jerry. It's a really cruel game. What you did last week doesn't matter of what you're doing today.
Yeah. And
particularly last year. I mean, I see Jamie Redknapp this morning said, I would have given him a 5-year contract on last year. And I think that's madness. You can't do that. You have to go on what's happening this year. And I think if they'd kept Ranieri on, I think there were odds on to go down, Ger.
Do you see enough quality in the squad and enough togetherness in the squad to stay up now?
Not at the moment. That's why I think if somebody new comes in, they probably get that. I think he's lost the dressing room. I think he lost the players. The fact that the players were going to the owners, that's a total loss of confidence in the manager.
Yeah.
But the big thing is, all people are going on last year, Ger. And there's an old saying in football, you're only as good as your last game, no matter what it might be, in any sport, but I only know soccer. But no matter how many games you played in the past, I mean, don't forget, Mourinho got sacked last year before Christmas, before Ranieri, and in the meantime, he'd left John Terry out. I think humiliated John Terry, in my opinion, when he took about half-time against Manchester City. And he was one of the great players for Chelsea over the years, one of the really great players. But sentiment can't come into it, Ger. You can't come into it. And I know that sounds very, very hard, but that is football. Once a manager... Look at the situation with Alex Ferguson and Roy Keane, for example. Yeah. Roy Keane was an absolutely great player for Manchester United. But in the end, he had to go. And that could have been handled a lot better. But the fact is, Ferguson got Keane out. Yeah. That's the game, Jared. It's cruel. It's a very, very cruel game, football.
Is there any hope from Leicester's perspective, from the fans and from the players themselves, in that there's a lot of responsibility on those players now because they are clearly seen to have been...
responsible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They were agents in this.
Yeah, but what happens is they pick it up, you see, Jared. That's how you get a boost, if clubs get a boost from this, because they always say, well, it was the manager's fault. Once the manager goes, then the responsibility is on the players, and they actually pick up, Ger. What they want to prove then, it was the manager's fault, not their fault.
Yeah.
That's how you get a pick up when they change manager. Now, it depends who they get in as well. He has to be good.
Well,
but I must say, I wouldn't go on the sentiment of what they did last year in relation to this year, Jack. It's just impossible to do that in football.
And are Vardy and Mahrez still good enough to, are they the players they were last season, or was last season?
No, they haven't been, Jack. But they're not old men. I mean, they're fit, they're good. I would be less hard on Vardy than Mahrez.
Right.
I think Vardy is so. See, when you're in the position of a team not playing well as a centre forward, you're dependent on people to make chances for you, and he hasn't had any chances. They've been bits and pieces. I don't think he's had to go as much as he could. I don't think Mahrez has at all. But I think, when you get a new manager in, again, all the players, I've seen it before, where they say, now, if we can't blame the manager anymore, and we're not doing well, it's down to us now. So they get together and to prove that it wasn't them that was at fault, it was the manager that was at fault.
Yeah.
And that's how you get a lift on it. But I think the likes of Vardy, I think Vardy has a go. Anyway, he just has to depend on other people to make chances for him. And he hasn't been missing chances, Ger. He just hasn't got any chances.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the centre-half is the big problem, Ger. Morgan. Morgan is the captain, and he was excellent for him, along with Huth last year. But every match I've seen from the start of the season, even the 2 goals the other night, particularly the first goal when he gave a count away, Morgan, has been at fault, Ger. And he's kept him in the team week in and week out as captain. I think that's been a mistake. That was sentiment, you see, Ger.
Yeah. So the new manager comes in and doesn't really owe anything to Morgan and can drop him.
Yeah. And in fact, I think if Ranieri was doing the job, he would have left Morgan out after the first couple of matches anyway.
And maybe actually that's what Morgan needed. Maybe everybody just needs a little bit of a kick from now.
A kick, yeah, exactly. If they're not doing it. But what happens I'd repeat myself, when a new manager comes in, then the players have to get together to prove that it wasn't them that was at fault, that it was the manager that was at fault. It's a cruel game. But I again, the sentiment of Ranieri, I think, is a very affable individual, very good lad. But I never ever really fancied him as a manager, Jared, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
What they did last year was a miracle, and he was very clever and he was very wise in the way he handled that.
Yeah, I think everybody was surprised by what happened last year.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's that surprised that they're struggling in the league this year either. This is kind of the level that you would have expected. Leicester should be...
You wouldn't expect them to struggle that much, Jared. I must be honest now, I thought they'd be a middle-of-the-table team this year.
Yeah.
Certainly wouldn't be there with Manchester United getting a new manager, City getting a new manager, Arsenal are there, Liverpool are there. I mean, what they did last year was terrific, but because a lot of the other teams fell away, as we know, Chelsea, Manchester United, Manchester City, they're back as strong teams this year. So I wouldn't have fancied them even to finish in the top 4, but I wouldn't have thought that to be in the trouble that they're in now.
Yeah. Okay.